Hello friends, again I am in front of you with another interesting and informative topic on read-write speed of M2 SSD NVMe. Before starting the video, I just want to let you know, right now I am shooting the video with my Creo slab light which I have unboxed just a few days back. So you can see this is the light. With this one I am shooting right now. I kept it in my computer desk. And light is pretty good. If you have not seen that unboxing video, giving that link in the tie button. Also, check that detailed review of that light. I am really impressed with that light. We will try to find the answers of these questions. What type of NVMe SSD should we buy? Should I go for PCIe Gen 3 or PCIe Gen 4? Or should I go for PCIe Gen 5, which is future-proof? Though that PCIe Gen 3 is cost effective, is there any hack to increase the read-write speed of that PCIe Gen 3 SSD? What will be the recommended settings to get the speed? Couple of months back, I made one video on Pibox NVMe SSD enclosure to use M2 SSD card as an external SSD drive. That was very portable. If you have not seen that video, I am giving the link in I button. You can check that. Also, link is given in the description box. Before finding out those answers, let us understand few things. But before jumping to that video, I am Chandrachud Adhikari, your host. Welcome to my channel Explore Review. Let's understand the difference between gigabits and gigabytes. Small b means bits and big B means Amitabh Bachchan. Just joking. Big B means byte. 1 byte equals to 8 bits. If somewhere it is mentioned 10 gigabits per second, that means 1.25 gigabytes per second. Just divide the gigabits with 8 to get gigabytes. So to understand this very well, here I am choosing 3 type of SSD card. So first here I have selected PCIe Gen 3, which is stating that it will give up to 3.5 gigabytes per second. As you can see here mentioned 3500 megabytes per second. Next I have selected PCIe 4 SSD card, which is saying that 4700 megabytes per second, which is equivalent to 4.7 gigabytes per second speed. Then again I have selected PCIe Gen 4 card, but here you can see that into X is mentioned, and in this card you can see it's stating like 5000 megabytes per second, which is 5 gigabytes per second. So this is the fastest one SSD card. Let us first understand the difference between PCIe Gen 3 and PCIe Gen 5 is already in market, but those are not available much for consumer use. If you can see in this table, PCIe Gen 4 is having twice of the bandwidth of the PCIe Gen 3. In this table above row, they are mentioning X1, X2, X4, X8, X16. These are nothing, these are lanes, and lanes can be extended up to X32. So in my last SSD, if you noticed or not, you can see that Gen 4 into 4 has been mentioned. So that means this SSD card is 4-lane SSD card. Now here I am not going to any debate with the speed, because in Kingston side the speed has been mentioned something different. For this SSD card you can see that they are claiming 5 Gbps per second. That is way below what Kingston mentioned in their web page. But for illustration purpose, let us understand that what is the difference between PCIe Gen 3 and PCIe Gen 4. In PCIe 3, with one lane you can see you can achieve 1 GB per second, and PCIe 4 is giving 2 GB per second, which is twice of the PCIe 3. So in layman, if I say that PCIe 3 is giving 16 GB per second with 16 lane, that can be achievable with PCIe Gen 4 with 8 lanes. So the bottom line is PCIe 4 has more bandwidth, which is twice of the PCIe 3. Now if you have any PCIe 4 card that is also compatible with PCIe 3 slot, but that PCIe 4 card will function normally with PCIe Gen 3 speed, as because of that other components of the system is not aligned with that PCIe Gen 4 requirement. What we need to do to achieve that PCIe Gen 4 speed, what is company claiming? I am not claiming that you would get this level of speed. If you are looking for 4-lane PCI Gen 4 card. Here Kingston is mentioning 8 Gbps. That does not mean that you will get that 8 Gbps speed. Whatever company is claiming, that we have to check if we are going to get that or not. And to get that, we need to follow certain configuration. If you are using PCI Gen 4 SSD with Gen 3 CPU or motherboard, then Gen 4 SSD card will give speed of PCI 3. If either one component is not compatible with Gen 4, then Gen 4 SSD speed won't be achievable. Here component means motherboard and CPU. In this picture, you can see Gen 4 SSD is trying to send data as per its speed, but due to compatibility issue, bottleneck is getting created at CPU and motherboard layer, as either one or both are not compatible with Gen 4 SSD. To achieve Gen 4 SSD speed, CPU and motherboard both should be compatible with Gen 4 architecture. I have provided list of AMD and Intel CPUs along with motherboards which are compatible with Gen 4 architecture. You can pause the video and check the compatibility list. Now, if you are thinking to use M2 SSD card with USB enclosure to use it as external drive, then you need to understand few things. In this bar chart, I have given compare of data transfer between USB 2.0, USB 3.2 generation 1, USB 3.2 generation 2 and USB 3.2 Gen 2 into 2. In our discussion, I have considered only USB 3.2 Gen 2 and USB 3.2 Gen 2 into 2 because rest of the USB generations are obsolete or going to be obsolete very soon. USB 3.2 Gen 2 can provide up to 10 gigabits per second, where USB 3.2 Gen 2 into 2 can provide up to 20 gigabits because USB 3.2 Gen 2 into 2 has two lanes, whether USB 3.2 Gen 2 has one lane. Due to extra lane, USB 3.2 Gen 2 into 2 can provide twice of the speed of USB 3.2. In this example, I have considered the fastest SSD, which is Gen 4 with 4 lane. Company claimed its speed up to 4 gigabytes per second. So, if you are using this USB 3.2 Gen 2, then you are only able to achieve 25% of the speed which company claimed. That means you will get 1.25 gigabytes per second. And similar way, you will get 50% of the company claimed speed if you are using USB 3.2 Gen 2 into 2. Here you will get 2.5 gigabytes per second. As mentioned, twice of the USB 3.2 Gen 2. So there is no rationale to use Gen 4 SSD card with USB 3.2 Gen 2 and USB 3.2 Gen 2 into 2. PCI Gen 3 M2 SSD card with these two USB version will be more value for money combination because Gen 4 SSD is costly than Gen 3. Please subscribe and like my channel to get more this type of tech tips. Thanks for watching the video.